I just want to introduce myself first of all, just to say I'm Bryony Bramer. I'm the Learning Technology Manager here at Regents University London, and I've been working with Blackboard for quite a lot of years, but I've been about 5 years in my current role, and I'm also the coordinator of the London Blackboard User Group, in case that's of interest to anyone. I'll turn my video off now and move on to the presentation. So my presentation is going to be about providing effective and available support for academic staff. And firstly, before I really get into it, I just wanted to say that this presentation is not going to give you all the answers. I'm talking about some things that are very much a work in progress at our institution, but I'm really hoping just to give you some ideas and things to think about and things to consider in your own institutions. So I'll just give you a bit of an overview about my institution, Regents University London. We're a small, private, not-for-profit, charitable higher education institution, and we're based in Regent's Park in central London. We've got about 4,000 FTE students, so that just gives you a bit of an idea of the context that I'm working in. So in my role, I manage the Learning Technology team, and we're based within the Learning Resources Department at the university. And my team covers the support, training and development of learning technology at the university, which includes Blackboard, technology enhanced learning, and also software training as well. So most of the work my team and I do is about supporting academic staff. So this in turn goes towards enhancing the learning experience for the students at the university. So the university introduced mandatory online coursework submission from September 2013. And so my team were faced with the challenge of supporting the academic staff in setting up assignment submission areas and receiving submissions via Blackboard. There are a lot of academic staff, as I'm sure you get that in your institutions, and relatively few people in my team. So we can't possibly provide individual support for every single member of academic staff. So we've really focused on what we can do in terms of training and providing support resources. So in order to support the introduction of online coursework submission, my team ran almost 100 training sessions in the first term, mainly on setting up online submission and receiving student submissions, and also some on marking online as well. And these got quite a good turnout. The learning objectives were quite clear, and for some staff this was exactly what they needed really, and they were able to go away from the training knowing how to complete the required tasks. However, and I'm sure a lot of you can identify with this, prior to the introduction of online coursework submission, Blackboard use was already a requirement for all modules in the university, but there were some members of academic staff who'd somehow still managed to avoid getting involved with using Blackboard at all. But now, because of online coursework submission, they absolutely couldn't avoid it. So we found that some of the people coming along to the online submission training were coming without even the basic understanding of using Blackboard, and also some of them without even having the basic computer skills to understand the logic of accessing and using an online system. So what we were offering just wasn't suitable for these staff. So while I somewhat agree with this idea from Dr. Ray Clifford, I think we need to be a bit more supportive. Teachers who don't use technology simply need to become teachers who do, and we need to support that. So first we need to consider the skills that staff need to have in order to be able to effectively use technology, and how we can support the staff in these essential skills. It's also important for us to have a think about our remit. What should my team support? You know, we just don't have the resources to do everything for everyone. So we've started thinking about the idea of a required digital literacy skill set for academic staff. But of course that goes far beyond my team. So I just wanted to think initially about a digital literacy skill set for online submission. So what skills do academic staff need in order to be able to get involved with online submission? So before we talk about the requirements, I just wanted to talk briefly about digital literacy. What is it, and also what does it mean to us? The digital literacy framework defines that digital literacies are those capabilities which fit an individual for living, learning and working in a digital society. And the JISC info kit represents digital literacies in a 7 elements model. There's a huge amount of really useful information in this info kit from JISC. I've put the link there on the slide. But I just wanted to highlight one section which is under the topic of supporting staff. They suggest that developing definitions, frameworks and models of digital literacy can be a beneficial way of engaging staff. So first of all, I wanted to think about the definition. The JISC definition is all very well as a general overview, but it's not really specific enough for me. My definition of digital literacy is more like digital literacies are the digital skills a person needs to be able to do the job they've been employed to do. It's quite simple. So for a member of academic staff, this includes dealing with online coursework submission. And I really feel that we need to identify the staff digital literacy requirements for online coursework submission with the goal of producing this required digital literacy skill set for academic staff. So what have we actually done? Well, for the past couple of years, my team have run annual institution-wide software training needs analyses in order to identify the institutional training needs, which helps us with our future planning. But it also helps us to identify current digital literacy levels and also to prove that there is a real need to implement some minimum standards. My team have been involved and worked with a lot of academic staff, so we already knew that there were quite a number of staff with limited digital literacy levels. But when we feed this back to heads of department and HR, they're genuinely surprised. There's a definite disparity between perceived and actual digital literacies. So we needed a clear understanding of where we were in terms of digital literacy levels across the staff. So I'm not going to go into the full details of the training needs analysis, we just haven't got time to do that today. But our training needs analysis included 70 questions split into 7 categories. And we got heads of department involved from the start to get them on board before sending out the survey to all the staff in their departments. So staff were asked to identify the things they would like to learn in each category, or to choose the option that they didn't need any help in that area. And in the 2013 to 14 training needs analysis, we got responses from around 25% of the academic staff. So we have to assume that some of the staff may not have responded because they just didn't have the digital literacy skills to be able to respond to an online survey. And there's of course others who don't want to admit their skills gaps. And then on the other hand, there's those who are perfectly comfortable using the technology who just choose not to respond or just didn't get around to it. But 25% of the academic staff is enough to give us a reasonable cross-section of our staff. So the responses identified a wide range of training requirements. So we had to think about breaking it down into the sort of essential skills and more advanced requests. So from our 70 questions across these 7 categories, we actually identified 34 digital literacy skills over 6 of the categories, which we think are essential for academic staff.
Bryony?
And in these areas.
Bryony, can I just jump in there?
Yep.
We've got a question from Alistair asking to what extent are digital skills included as a mandatory requirement in job descriptions when hiring new staff?
This is a really interesting one, and actually, as I've been sort of involved in sort of doing the work around this, actually my opinions have changed on this. A while ago, I was kind of very convinced that this should be in academic staff job descriptions. I think I've kind of come around to the way of thinking that actually it shouldn't be a requirement, as far as I'm concerned, in the recruitment process. But I think it should be a requirement of probation. So that's what I'm hoping, and we'll get to that bit in a moment. But you know, I'm hoping that this would become something that would be a probationary requirement and a PDR requirement for academic staff, but not necessarily a requirement for recruitment, because a lot of these skills can be taught, and we don't want to not recruit people based on things that we can teach them. Okay, fab. I'll move on. So as I said, we identified these 6 areas of the training needs analysis which we thought had particular essential skills for academic staff. And thinking about this a bit more, there are a whole another set of requirements which actually are probably essential as well. So thinking about using the student record system, using classroom technology, working off campus, and also accessing the HR system. So they're really quite essential requirements for academic staff as well. However, they're not things that we can control at the moment, and they weren't identified specifically in our training needs analysis. So we've just got to focus for now on the things that we can do. So thinking about our 6 areas that we identified from the training needs analysis, we actually broke this down even further to identify the key skills that academics would need in order to be able to get involved with online submission. And we thought these were just the ones in the areas of general skills, communication on email, word processing, and using Blackboard. So of the respondents, we had 8% say they needed help in the general skills category. And this covered things, all the way from switching on your computer and accessing a website to some slightly more complex things. But this was really just about general computer skills. So 8% is actually quite high there. There's, a definite need for some training. And at the other end, 18% requesting further help in using Blackboard. Bearing in mind, Blackboard was something that staff should already have been using at this point. That's a bit surprising that we're still getting 18% asking for further help. And this is further help in the basics, not necessarily the more advanced skills. So we're not going to be able to solve everything in one go. But going back to our idea of developing a digital literacy skill set for online submission, we need to identify specifically which things the academic staff need to be able to do before even being able to think about online submission. So since online submission is a requirement, this is what our staff need to be able to do. So the training we were offering on online submission is just a very small part of the skills that the academics need. You can see it was just covering the area highlighted in yellow on the slide. And there are actually 21 other skills that we think that staff need before they can even get to the point of learning about using online submission. So now we've identified these skills, we can look at developing an essential technologies training session which covers all of these skills, which we could then offer to all new starters and hopefully make a probation requirement. So staff can't pass their probationary period if they haven't completed that training. And also, as I mentioned, I would really like to then get this into the academic staff PDRs and their annual reviews, really to ensure that all staff are up to this digital literacy level. So it's also important for us to sort of think about the holistic view about this, and think about where's the best time and place for staff to get this training, because this new sort of essentials training session will just be one of the ways that we can ensure staff have access to the training and support they need. So all our new starters have a basic IT induction on their first day. So some of these essential skills could be covered there, and other things could be covered by their line managers as well as like the specific software and Blackboard training that my team can offer. So I think we just need to take a moment to sort of step back and think about what we're trying to achieve. So it's not just teaching staff about online submission. The real sort of learning objective is that we're trying to enable our staff to meet the university Blackboard requirements by uploading relevant materials, which was already a requirement, and also setting up appropriate assignment submission areas for their students within their module areas. So that means they're meeting our requirements for online coursework submission, and also the requirements to provide resources to students via Blackboard. And I think we should really be keeping that sort of overall goal in mind whenever we're developing any new training or support, just so we don't get too focused on the specifics and forget about the big picture. So, for our more advanced users, and also for session handouts and follow-ups after training, we also create a wide range of our own bespoke user guides. So we provide a whole learning technology help for staff area on Blackboard, and also a very similar area for students, which they can access very easily on Blackboard. This is our Blackboard homepage, and you can see there's two key areas they can go to. There's actually even more places than that they can get to the help. We're very strong on signposting help here, and we also signpost to this help from our intranet as well. So once they get into the help area, our content has just been split up into 4 sections, key areas that we think staff will need help with, and once they go into, say, the online submission area, they can get access to our bespoke videos and our bespoke user guides that we've put together. So as I'm sure some of you are very aware, making our own user guides and videos is actually a lot of hard work and very time consuming, but we feel it's really worth it because it means we can provide things that are specific to our institution, and using the terminology that we use on our system, and also in line with our policies at the university here. And it means that the staff have the opportunity to find this information themselves. They don't always have to ask us for help. And when they do raise queries, my team can often just refer people to a particular training resource or guide or video, and that saves a lot of time in sort of responding to repeated issues. And that means that my team can focus more of their time on supporting staff with the specific needs of their modules, rather than on sort of just giving out the same instructions. So the other thing we've done is we've also recently purchased the lynda.com online software training system, which you may be aware of as well, and we've made this available to all our staff and students via Blackboard. So we can also use this, combined with our own internally produced guides, to provide additional support and training for staff on a variety of software. So that was just kind of a whistle-stop tour about how we're aiming to provide effective and available support for academic staff. I'll just summarise by saying, if you're interested in trying to make changes to the support you provide at your institutions, my advice would be to get the senior managers involved as soon as possible. Really think about what skills are needed in your institution and what support you can reasonably provide. You just can't do everything. And also to think about the hooks you can use to bring people around to your way of thinking as well. So I really hope that's been useful to all of you. You're very welcome to contact me on the details here. Does anyone have any questions?
Excellent, thank you for that, Bryony. Yes, if anyone's got any questions, please do drop those in the chat window, and we'll pick those up. Or as Bryony mentioned there, her details are on the screen, so feel free. I can see a few people look to be typing. Hopefully a couple of questions. Can you see those questions, Bryony? There's one there saying, do you offer face-to-face for those who do not have the basic skills to access the online learning? And that's from Patricia.
Yes. Yes, we do. So we offer regular training sessions, so regular face-to-face sessions for staff sort of throughout the term or throughout the teaching period. And we do get sort of a reasonable turnout for those. But I can see that the following question from somebody else there is how much time is allocated to continuing professional development to academic staff? And that is that's the big question, and I guess a lot of you have experienced this as well, that we offer the training and people want the training, but a lot of the time they just don't have the hours in the day in their teaching schedules to be able to attend the face-to-face training. And while we do try and offer sort of a range of sessions, evening sessions as well as daytime, lunchtime sessions, that sort of thing, it's just difficult to get the commitment to attending training.
Thanks, Bryony. There's a few more coming in. Kate at Delft was asking, were the workshops online or face-to-face or a mixture of both?
The ones we did initially for online submission were online. Sorry, face-to-face. I'm just reading the word online. Sorry, they were all face-to-face. We didn't offer training sessions online. We just offered the resources online. We're hoping in the future to be able to offer training sessions online. We've just started using Collaborate, so we're hoping to offer training sessions online to just provide another way of attending. So if people prefer to learn in that way, then we can offer that as an alternative. But again, it's the digital literacy skills to be able to access online training is sometimes a bit difficult.
And of those online resources, which prove most popular for the staff? Is it videos, training guides, or training courses?
That's a good question. I would like to think it's the videos because to me they seem like the best method. But I think actually people really like having the sort of paper-based or text-based guides as well, because we do those in a sort of very step-by-step way. So people do certainly comment on the fact that they really appreciate the guides.
Patricia's asking, what is the take-up from your staff? Do you have those stats?
No, not really in terms of the actual usage of the resources. In terms of training session attendance, we do keep statistics on that, and as I'm sure sort of lots of people have experienced, we don't get huge numbers to training, but we do get reasonable numbers. Sort of in the first term of introducing this online submission, I can't think of the exact statistic off the top of my head, but it was quite a sizable proportion of people attending the training. But as I said, some of them found it less useful because they didn't have the prior knowledge that was really needed. So I think in the future, something we'd like to do is actually say, if we're delivering sort of online submission training in a similar way, we'd say you actually have the prerequisite of you have to have been to an overview of Blackboard session beforehand. So we don't end up with that situation where people really can't grasp some of the newer concepts because they haven't got the prior knowledge.
Excellent. Simon Thompson from Northampton there has put, for online staff help, they find searching for material difficult and creating a comprehensive index nearly impossible. Any thoughts or ideas around that?
Absolutely. I totally agree. That's why we've kind of gone down the road of trying to make it more simple, and we're often internally continually thinking of, oh well, maybe we could do it this different way and other things. But as I sort of showed you, the fact that we've got it just split into 4 sections as you go into the help area, and then once you go into there, it's split into sort of subsections under that. We've tried to simplify it that way, but yeah, I totally agree, it is very difficult. I guess one of the other things we've done is we've kind of just made, thought about the things that are really important. So for us, online submission is massive importance. So we've made that quite prominent, and we've made, so if you click on online submission, it goes straight into the guides about how to set it up. and then the guides about sort of doing online marking and that sort of thing, they're further away. So, you know, people can get the essentials very easily, and it might be slightly more difficult to access the later stages of things, but we've just tried to order it in a way of, you know, what's the most urgent and important at the top, and then later resources later. But yeah, it's definitely a very difficult one.
Yeah, Richard goes on to, Richard Dudley asks if you face much resistance, who consider the creation of submission points to be more an admin task, and how many staff were trained.
Yes and no. We did a bit with online submission, get a bit of resistance, but that's sort of why I say, you know, getting those senior management on board is really important. I mean, the plan to introduce online coursework submission came from senior management. I was certainly involved in the discussions, but I very much stepped back from any of the sort of making the communications about that to say this is a requirement. You know, I left the senior management to get on with making those sort of the formal statements about what is required, because that means that, you know, it's not just something that's coming from me and my team. This is a senior management requirement that is informing all the staff that this has to be done, and then my team can come in and offer to provide the training and support. So we look, you know, we look like the people that are supporting the staff, which is what we do, rather than the ones that are dictating what people have to do. So I like it to work that way, really, because, you know, it means that we are supporting, we're not dictating. How many staff were trained? We've trained a lot of staff. I can't give you the exact figure off the top of my head. I don't have that with me right now, but we've trained a lot of staff. But yeah, there's still more that we haven't been able to get. But we do now have sort of really well-established online submission, and actually those sort of any complaints that did come up at the beginning, really people have just stopped talking about it now. People have stopped saying that this is, you know, new and scary. Actually, this is just what we do now. So it's quite well established now.
Excellent. Chris Boone at City College Norwich is asking, did you find allowing the academics to set up the online submission points themselves caused any issues with them setting them up incorrectly? He tends to set them up for academics as it's easy to get muddled grades sent on large courses.
Yes, I totally see where you're coming from there. We do have issues, and we still do continue to have some issues around that people set up the areas incorrectly, and we still get occasional ones where they're not set up and the students are looking for them and they're not there. But just because of the number of courses, you know, that had to be the way that we went with it. We have around about 500 plus modules running at any one time, which obviously compared to some places is not that huge amount. But you know, 500 odd modules, multiple submissions for many of the modules. It has to be the academics that are setting those up themselves. So yeah, we just really try and make sure people know how to do it correctly, and yeah, that's how we approach it.
Do you use quizzes or an adaptive release in the program?
We do a bit, actually. Quizzes, there's a few of the modules which use quizzes for summative assessment as part of the overall assessment for the modules, and a few more that use it for formative as well. Because of the way, I guess the wording of the way we do things here is that we would treat quizzes as an exam, and whereas assignment submission is coursework generally. So we've really focused on this for coursework. and there's no mandate on exams at the moment. But we do use quizzes a bit. Adaptive release, again, yeah, it's used in some areas, but not particularly in relation to assessment.
Okay. And have you found that with the support provided by the academic staff, has it provided more consistency with the students' experience? Is there any feedback from the students since implementing this?
I can't say that, direct correlation and all of those things, because I don't have the detailed statistics. But yeah, something I didn't mention in terms of consistency is that we do provide templates, course templates on all the new module areas that we set up on Blackboard. So we set up a new area each term for each module, but a template is applied to that. Staff are also, they're given the opportunity to roll over materials if they want to, but that's again something that they need to choose to do themselves. We provide guidance on that. But we do provide a template, and we encourage staff to set up their assignment submission areas in a particular folder within that course template. And yeah, I mean, certainly that helps the students' experience in terms of consistency. And we have got positive feedback from students. We have our student survey that we do annually, and one of the questions there is on Blackboard and how the students are using that. And they are generally very positive about the experience they have with using Blackboard. So I think the consistency and that's why I say, in a way, talking about doing our own user guides, that we can make that as part of the user guide, that you go into the folder that's called assessment, and that's where you put your assignment submission areas, and we can sort of kind of have that consistency built in to when we're advising the staff to set up their areas. So we do get that consistency for students.
Brilliant, thank you. Andy at Lincoln has asked, do you include plagiarism awareness and detection in the training?
Yes and no. Yes, we use Turnitin, and we kind of train on both the Blackboard assignment submission tool and also Turnitin embedded within our Blackboard. And we explain how the tool works. We don't, and in a way purposely, we don't focus on how an academic should identify plagiarism and that type of thing, and the details about what plagiarism is and all of those things. What we do is explain what the tools can do to help them with their detection, because we don't want to say that this software is doing that job for them. We still want the focus on their academic discretion on what constitutes plagiarism, and there are separate guidelines in our quality handbook about what constitutes plagiarism. So that information is there, but we really focus on how the tools can support them. We don't go so much into the details of how to identify plagiarism, that type of thing.
Excellent. I think those are all the questions. I can't see any additional ones. So thank you, Bryony, for presenting today and leading the webinar, and thank you to everybody else for joining us for the session. It has been recorded. Everybody will automatically receive an email on Monday with a link to the recording. And as you can see on the screen there, we have one more webinar coming up from Sheffield Hallam University, which is discussing more best practice around technology adoption. We hope you can join us for that. If you have any further questions following the webinar, please email us at askus@blackboard.com. And thank you again to everyone for joining us, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.
Thank you.